Hey everybody, welcome back to Remedial Sonic Lore, wherever the heck this side podcast is called. Uh, uh, I wanted to do an interesting thing because again, Gideon doesn't really play or appreciate 3D Sonic games, so I wanted to get his I want to say his take on a few things that he actually does enjoy about the series. And I think starting off with uh, music is actually a pretty good place to start. One second. It forgot to unplug my headphones. Okay, so you sent me a list of songs.
Yes.
Uh, they are specifically from different Sonic games, and we're gonna go over what you consider to be the best and the worst the of the early 2D Sonic games.
Correct.
And I'm going to guess that all of these are the 16-bit ones, not the 8-bit ones.
The 8-bit Sonic games aren't real. They're not canon. They don't exist. There's no reason for them to have ever been made. We are specifically talking about games that were released on the Sega Master System / Genesis, whatever it is you want to call it.
Yeah.
What was it called? Mega Drive or something like that?
Yeah, the Mega
Yeah,
Drive
Master
and
System. Master System was the first one. Yeah, my bad.
okay. So just pull this up. Okay. So the first one that you said is your favorite is Spring Yard Zone.
Yes.
Am I
Spring
actually
Yard Zone is such a good song.
Yeah, I kind of get it. Also, I'm not sharing my screen with you. That probably would help. Can you at least hear it?
Second. Full screen. Playing right now? I can't hear
Yeah. Yeah, I don't
No,
know
I'm
why
getting.
my audio doesn't work half the time. Weird. Oh well. Yeah, not sure why audio is not getting sent to you.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Oh well. Uh, so when you specifically uh gave me Spring Yard Zone, what part about it did you actually enjoy the most? Would you say?
It, it's a multitude of things. The first thing I would say is, as with all Sonic music, even the worst Sonic music is still almost a banger. But with Spring Yard Zone, coming right in the middle of the game, it also has this sense of Sonic is no longer just going through a level, and now he's actively looking for Robotnik. There's a lot more of like an actiony feel to it. Green Hill Zone, that one's definitely got a lot of the ready for adventure. Uh, you know, it's he's there. This is where he's from. He's just vibing. Marble Zone is more of him like just sort of chilling through the stage. It's also a very, very slow stage. It's one of the stages that you're going to be standing around a lot while you wait for platforms.
Yeah,
But then you get to Spring Yard Zone. And Spring Yard Zone, that's the level where you have to figure out how to go fast. That is the level where uh you have to know where you're headed.
speaking of Marble Zone, which is weird that they just shortened it to Marble Zone instead of, isn't it? In the later games, it's Marble Labyrinth Zone or something.
Marble Garden.
Marble Garden. There we go. That is technically the full name.
Yeah.
I currently have the first minute of Marble Zone playing. But what specifically did you not like as much in Marble Zone? Is it just the
It's
level
just too
5
low
level?
tempo. It's just too low tempo for what I would consider like a Sonic song.
Hmm. I just realized that the audio was down. Whatever. Yep, there we go. Okay. So when when we specifically talk about like old classic Sonic songs, people don't bring up Sonic 1. Like everyone knows Green Hill Zone, but no one really brings up Sonic 1. I think the reason for that is that it doesn't hit that very memorable note that a lot of Sonic songs later on do, and they try to have at least one incredible song per game, you know? And it is really funny that the only song in Sonic 1 that people ever remember is the classic Eggman theme and the classic the classic Robotnik theme, but the classic uh Robotnik boss theme and Green Hill Zone. And it is kind of funny how those are the only two songs that ever really get brought up, you know?
Well, Green Hill Zone always gets brought up because it's the first song of the game. It's iconic, but I haven't really uh I haven't really seen a lot of people talk about the Robotnik boss fight from 1. It's usually the Robotnik boss fight from 2
Well, it's because the
that I
one
hear
from
talked
2 is slightly remixed, but it's still the same theme.
about. Hmm.
So let's actually go on to Sonic 2 then, since it was
My
brought up.
favorite game in the series.
Uh, you said that your favorite song from Sonic 2 is Casino Night Zone, which I have actually heard a lot of people agree.
Yes, Casino Night Zone is not only one of my favorite stages in all of Sonic, like as a series, but it has my favorite music in the entire series. It's perfection. And I have gone on record saying that if the Sonic Adventure characters had arrived in the series earlier, Casino Night Zone would absolutely be the stage where you'd be introduced to Rouge the Bat.
Maybe.
The developers agree. They gave Rouge Casinopolis in Adventure. They knew what they were doing.
Yeah. Um, it is actually it is kind of a neat vibe, but I feel like that this music is remembered a lot because of the actual level mechanics itself, with like the like the pinball board from Sonic 2 is incredibly memorable.
I enjoyed as a kid. I used to always try and get in the slot machine because the way that the rings would spiral into you when you won, or the way the spines would run into you to get rid of your rings if you lost, was always just. There's something very aesthetically pleasing about the spiraling. Also, there is only one bad thing I can say about Casino Night Zone, and it's a gripe that is shared with the stage not next, but the one after, which would be Mystic Cave Zone. In that both of them have infinite death pits. And not like you fell out of the map kind of thing. I mean in Mystic Cave Zone, there's an area where you can fall down into an area with spikes, and there's literally no way to get out. You cannot jump high enough. Tails cannot lift you high enough to get out. And in Casino Night Zone, there's an area that is a very narrow hallway where the top and bottom of the hallway are all covered in the triangular angled bumpers, and you cannot get out of that. You will bounce around until the time runs out and you get a true game over.
I might as well also play a little bit of Mystic Cave Zone as well.
Yeah, it is hard for me to pick like a good, perfect song from Sonic 2 because again, I'm colored by the fact that Casino Night Zone is my favorite zone to play, so I'd be hearing its music a lot, so I'd end up liking it. There's so many good songs in Sonic 2: Mystic Cave Zone, Hilltop Zone, Oil Ocean. Very, very few that I dislike. I think the only ones that I could say that I truly dislike, there's only 3, and that'd be Metropolis Zone, Sky Chase Zone, and Aquatic Ruin. But the worst song in Sonic 2, the worst song period, not just one that I dislike, but it's so bad that it's actually really hard to even hear it, is at the beginning of Death Egg Zone, before you fight Silver Sonic. If you don't move into the room, there's actually a hidden music track that plays for the stage before it goes into the boss theme. But no one ever hears it because the first instinct is to move forward. And when you do listen to it, it is not worth it. It's bad.
Yeah, it's got that, like, weird, like, haunted carousel type of vibe to it. It's like, weird.
Yeah, it also doesn't flow well. Yes, it's supposed to be evil and sort of like demented, but it also just sounds like Eggman is trying to build his Eggman land from colors.
Personally, my favorite track in Sonic 2 is Oil Ocean. Like, it's got that sort of, like, oddly weird, sort of, like, Arabian vibe to it, even though it's in the middle of the ocean. And it's like, huh, weird. Like, something that you would expect play when you're in a sand level.
Maybe it was, at one point. I mean, CD showed us that there are definitely different versions of the zones before Robotnik ruined everything.
Yeah, I just had to play the trill part because, like, it's, like, my favorite part of that whole, like, theme. Okay, so I don't know. I'm one of those type of people that I'm very emotional. And when certain emotions happen in a level, I end up not liking a theme. It's why I don't really like Wicked Wild from Sonic and the Secret Rings. Even though it's one of my favorite soundtracks, I don't like that song because it has one of the most frustrating, like, side missions in the game, and I heard it so much that I just did not like it. So when I say that Chemical Plant Zone is my least favorite Sonic 2 song, it's like,
that's insane because it's such an iconic song that is almost constantly re-released, re-referenced. You know, I think it's up there with Green Hill Zone as the most replayed, remixed, and redone.
It's I think it's mostly because I don't hear the theme. It's I hear the theme for like 2 seconds and then I start hearing the drowning theme. And it's like, okay.
Hmm.
It's that sort of like thing that
Yeah, I
happens
see.
where
There's a reason why when I play Chemical Plant Zone, I always pick a certain path, even though it's technically slower, because I don't want to go under the water and have to do the rotating staircases while underwater, because that is stress incarnate.
it's actually really funny because whenever someone decides that they're okay, so in Sonic Generations, they put none. I think maybe one. I think one of the collectibles in Sonic Generations in the water. Every single one of
Hmm.
them is above the water.
Yeah,
Because
they knew.
even the game knows, do not explore in the water. It is being in the water is a punishment of you not playing well. And it's like, okay. So, the next theme that you have, I'm gonna guess that this goes for not just for Sonic 3, but for all of Sonic and Knuckles as well.
Yeah. Yes,
You're
it does. It just it's still weird to me to split the game.
I don't. I consider Sonic 3 and Knuckles to be the whole complete game because it is the whole complete game. There is no reason to play it just Sonic 3.
Or even people who just put in Sonic and Knuckles and they don't attach it to 3 are very strange, and I don't like that.
Oh, I forgot that T-Lopes actually redid all of the Sonic 3 music at one point. It's all pretty good. But the Sonic Origins versions of the Sonic 3 levels are sadly not very good because it's the beta versions because they can't use any of the music that was written for Michael Jackson in the game, so they had to rip all of that music out. So it's like, ugh. But yeah, Ice Cap Zone in Sonic 3.
Yes.
It really does have that. It has, oddly enough, the exact vibe of being on a snowboard.
I really enjoy that Ice Cap Zone has that build up at the beginning while you're snowboarding in. I think that is the. I think I can probably pinpoint that as the exact moment when Sonic went from Sega's mascot to fight Mario to the character that would become Sonic the Hedgehog, the adventure games character.
Yeah, it is kind of neat. I like Sonic 3's soundtrack, but I just don't play it as much because I'm not really a 2D Sonic fan. But I still think that Sonic 3 is probably the best made of the 3D Sonic games. Well, it's also because it's the latest of that set of four games, but people always consider Sonic CD after Sonic 3. But you're supposed to play in like Sonic 1, Sonic CD, Sonic 2, and then 3 and Knuckles. Like it's weird, like timeline wise, of how they were made because people usually play CD as the fourth game.
Yeah, when it timeline wise, it takes place before 2.
All you have to do is boot up CD and then see the ending, and then Tails is like, "I'll see you in the next adventure." And it's like, "Wait, is this supposed to be for Tails Sky Patrol?" And everyone's like, "No." It's because Sonic CD was made by one half of the team, and Sonic 2 was maybe the other half of the team at around the same time.
And I mean, the important thing to think about is also that Sonic the Hedgehog, the you know 16-bit version, uh, is not even the first game in the timeline. Sega Sonic the Hedgehog is the first one in the timeline, where it was Sonic and Mighty and I think his name's Ray, the flying squirrel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you don't like Carnival Night Zone,
I do not.
and that is understandable.
I don't like the zone. It has terrible music. I don't like carnival-based themes very often unless you're specifically going for a horror theme, because I don't like clowns, so I don't like carnivals. But there is another reason why I don't like the song, and that is the game has an entire mechanic that is not in the instruction manual. It is never told to you, it is never taught to you in an organic way, and it leads to such a extended period of time in the level for this song to grate on you, and that is the Drum of Doom.
Is that the actual like full pinball game that's inside the level?
No, there's those drums that sort of move up and down a little bit, and you're supposed to go under one of them, but they don't tell you the way to do that is you have to duck and then look up over and over on it to make it move up and down more.
Hmm. I thought it was in 3. One second.
We're talking about 3. Carnival Night Zone.
I know, I was trying to find the particular piece of music that I wanted to pull up, and I'm like, wait, is it not in Sonic 3? And then I'm like, oh wait, it goes by a different name. I believe it's launch-based zone, specifically Act 2.
So the what would normally be the final act of Sonic 3, before you
Yeah.
go into Knuckles.
I just don't like that theme. It's pretty bad. And it's mostly because it's as one funny person who knows music on the internet called it, it's very fartcore, where it's just a bunch of bass hits, and then every once in a while you'll hear one of that like stock footage like audio stings just going, yeah, and it's like it's not good. I do not like Launch Base Zone Act 2. It's probably my least favorite song from Sonic 3. If it's just not very fun to listen to.
Uh, in that vein,
Uh,
Launch Base Zone is also not fun to play.
Although I think is it this one? I love the special stage theme from Sonic 3. There is something so tropical about it that is really nice to listen to.
It's a good theme. I think if I had to choose any of the special stage themes to actually be one of my favorite, it's going to be Sonic 2. That theme is so good. The stage is the best Sonic secret stage ever.
Speaking of secret stages, we talked about this before. On a tier list, take Sonic 1, Sonic 2, Sonic 3, and Sonic CD. Special stages, how do you rank them? From worst to best.
From worst to best, at the worst is Sonic 1.
Yeah, rotating the box is just such a weird minigame that is just not fun.
And you don't even get to rotate it really. You can barely control Sonic as he's going through. You're pretty much just like hoping that it, you know, that you make it. Uh, Above that we have Sonic 3. I think the blue balls stage is fine.
Spheres is really fun if you actually know what you're doing, but I don't like how the more rings you pick up, the faster you go. So at some point, it just becomes a mess,
Yeah,
especially in
but
the
I'm not
later
saying it's
stages.
bad. I'm not saying it's bad. It's while it is the second worst, it's not bad. There's such a large gap between Sonic 3 and Sonic 1's special stages.
Yeah,
Above that, you have Sonic CD,
you were
the
trying to decide
UFO
between
catching
a
game.
UFO and Wipeout, weren't you? For
Yes,
just a second. Just a second, you were like, okay, which one do I not like more? Do I not like accidentally falling off the stage in UFO, or do I not like always looking at Sonic from the back?
I like Sonic. Sonic 2 is probably my favorite
Uh,
of the special stages. I
Wipeout has always
spec-
been an interesting sort of mechanic because it always comes back in Sonic games because Sonic Heroes uses that same special stage as a mechanic in, but it's really funny because the way you do it is that you have to collect the orbs in Heroes, and so you have to keep switching between the three different setups so you can collect the most amount of orbs, which is a neat variant on the mechanic.
One that's not listed on our things here is I also really enjoy the uh, the special stage from 3D Blast. The music from that's also real good.
I'm gonna click on the Genesis one. So specifically, I'm clicking on the Genesis one. Are you sure that's the one, or is it the Saturn one? Which
The
one am I
Genesis
clicking?
one, there are no good Saturn 3D Blast songs. They're all generic garbage.
It's got a nice beat to it.
It's also just a really fun stage. It's somewhere between Wipeout and some of the other stages because you're going up like an endless staircase and you got to dodge mines and get rings.
For context, I'm playing the Saturn version of the special theme right now, where it starts with the trumpets.
It's bad.
The Saturn version is not bad, but it really does feel like that it never starts.
It's generic. It's uninspired.
Since we're on the topic, Sonic 3D Blast has this incredibly strange aesthetic to it, where the Genesis soundtrack is all really neat classic Sonic tracks, and then the Saturn version is we can make it better. It was not better. Yeah, you didn't list your favorite 3D Blast songs because you've said several times to me that 3D Blast as a soundtrack is one of your favorite soundtracks in Sonic.
Yes, there are no bad songs in 3D Blast.
But Saturn, the
To ask me to
Saturn
pick,
soundtrack is just generic to the point where it just does not feel good to listen to. So
yes,
what's your
if
best showcase of this?
oh god, I think if I were to pick a song that best describes how good 3D Blast can be versus how bad it gets, Green Grove Zone Act 1, the first stage of Sonic 3D Blast, is such an absolute vibe that it was reused in Sonic Adventure during the Tails versus Sonic race in Windy Valley.
Yeah, it's Windy Valley, and that's what I know this song as. And so hearing it again when I booted up 3D Blast, I'm like, oh hey, And then it turns out that all of 3D Blast is just the vibe of Windy Hill, of Windy Valley.
But if you want to hear how absolutely just garbage tier the Saturn soundtrack gets, let me actually pull up on my YouTube. Let me pick between two songs. Let me see which one I hate the most.
Okay. I might as well. Yeah, because we're holding off on CD because CD in itself is
That's a lot of songs.
it's a can of worms. It's like when you start going into the soundtrack for CD because people love love a lot of CD soundtrack, and I just feel like that there's some really good songs in that, but there's a lot of misses. There's a lot of misses in CD's soundtrack. And I feel like it kind of led to me not liking Sonic CD as long as I did. Like, CD is a fine game, it's just that the music did not sit well with me.
Okay. I would say uh if I had to pick the worst song in Sonic 3D Blast for the Saturn soundtrack, it is Volcano Valley Act 1. It is so generic. It legitimately sounds like a Call of Duty lobby waiting screen.
You said specifically Act 1?
Yes, because the acts have different themes in 3D Blast. Volcano Valley Act 1 for the Sega Saturn sounds like a game that has microtransactions.
It does have that, like, Sonic Unleashed level select vibe to it, where it's like, isn't this epic? And I'm like, no, not really.
It's so overdone and generic and orchestral in the worst way.
I'm currently
If you do want to hear the only song I enjoy from the Saturn soundtrack,
I'm currently playing Act 1 for to show the dynamic, which the Genesis version is a little bit grating, yes, but there's something so classic, like hot level sounding of like the like wispy, just like grating music, you know?
yeah, which it's like it feels like you're being hurried along, like you're like, oh, it's too hot, I gotta get out of here soon, you know?
Yeah. This is always the funny dynamic between old 8-bit music and 16-bit music going into 32-bit music is as we started going up, you got more octaves and you got more interstitial notes in between the 8-bit music to the point where a lot of the classic 8-bit music, when they started to try to recreate it in later stuff, it lost the vibe of it. It's kind of like I was watching something before like a while ago about why does ice music sound cold in older games? And it's just got this like and it was this interesting explanation for how you make something sound cold or something sound hot or something sound windy through music. And it literally comes to just hitting that perfect chord of notes. That
Another reason why I enjoy Sonic CD as a entire soundtrack is that the acts in Sonic's 3D Blast that change are always telling a variation of a story. For example, we'll look at Volcano Valley. If you listen to Act 2, it is a lot softer. It's a lot calmer. Because in the level, when you beat the first stage, the volcano already erupts. So the second stage you're going through the Act 2, the level's partially already destroyed by lava, but there is no eruption anymore.
Yeah, I would say that Act 2 is my favorite version of the Volcano Valley theme. It's kind of neat.
It's really good.
it's still that it's still got that like hot music sort of theme, but it's got the this is the aftermath. This does have the vibe of this is an aftermath. Oh, I just hit the middle part of the music.
Yeah. What do you think?
It's neat.
I like it.
Like I'm never gonna say that like it's like going to displace any of the like later themes from the Sonic series, but 3D Blast is a pretty good soundtrack. I've listened to it at least once before, both the Genesis and the Saturn version, and the Saturn version just does not feel right at times. I understand what they were going for because they're like, yeah, let's make it more orchestral, but there's something weird about taking uh old 8-bit piece of music and pulling it up all the way, which is why when you hear the Mario theme, usually they try to remix it, but it still has that sort of like 8-bit staccato to it, you know? They try not to leave that sort of like punchy feel that 8-bit music has. And it is kind of neat how like every single time I remind myself about old Sonic music, people said say that there is a uh people bring up a very good line that is brought up every once in a while. Even if a Sonic game is not good, it will have at least three incredibly good pieces of music into it. Like for instance, in Sonic Freeriders, you have this game where you have to stand in front of the Kinect and wiggle your body to bounce invisible skateboard effectively to play this game, and it's not a fun experience. But people will pull up the main theme of Freeriders as a reason to at least experience the game. And it's like that is so fascinating that it's like even in the worst Sonic games you have some of the best music. Unless we're talking
Yes.
about Sonic Labyrinth, that song deserves to just be like
Hmm.
shoved down a drain.
Uh, Sonic Labyrinth is in a weird spot for me because I hate the music, but I also feel like a hypocrite saying I hate the music of Sonic Labyrinth while also turning around and saying that Sonic Spinball music is fine.
Okay, no, I don't want Labyrinth Zone. I'm trying to look for. Is it Act One or Act Two that is on the worst Sonic game Sonic sorry, the worst music of all time playlist? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
Ah, it's so crunchy. I forgot how
Pain.
crunchy it was.
Yeah, Labyrinth is rough.
Uh, and then we have uh I might as well bring it up because I absolutely hate this piece of music from Sonic Spinball. Let me see if I could find it. I cannot remember what it's actually called. Oh, there we go. Toxic Caves. Now, Toxic
The
Caves by
beginning of the
itself
game, right?
is not bad, but it's got that like yeah, Toxic Caves is not bad, but when you listen to it on a crackly CRT, all the white noise starts coming out. And whenever white noise shows up in video game music, I immediately reject it. You know, it's like it's why I don't like a lot of the music from the fifth generation of Pokemon games, is because of the white noise that they use for to like have this sort of like melodic rhythm to it on um when they're trying to convert a piece of music to MIDI, it goes wrong. So there's like the white noise that's in the background I don't really like as much. Like Toxic Caves is a fine piece of music, but when you listen to it incredibly grating, like it with all the white noise into it, it starts feeling bad.
Hmm.
What was another classic Sonic game that I was thinking of that I had like a strong maybe I am actually thinking about Sonic. Maybe I am thinking about something in CD.
Maybe?
So, going to there was just a lot to type in right there. So Sonic CD. You specifically said one version, but I have to actually play both versions. I hope you understand that I have to play both versions. So,
Yes.
Stardust Speedway.
Well,
Specifically, act.
there should be three versions of every song because you have the song that plays when you get to a level, and
Yeah.
or four, actually four songs because you had like take for example Palm Tree Paradise, then you have Palm Tree Paradise Past, then you have Good Future and Bad Future.
I really like Stardust Speedway. Like, just normal Stardust Speedway is pretty good. Uh-oh, there it is. Is the way, part of, of Metal's theme.
Yep.
Oh, we got to the jazz section of the song.
It's very good.
So, now to show the dynamic, you want to play Bad Future.
Yes.
In which it has that, like, police siren in the background. In which the piano notes are a lot more prevalent, and it goes into an R&B sort of mix instead of a jazz-inspired one, which technically is the same thing, but whatever. And of course the Huays from the Sonic the Metal Sonic Huays is just so funny.
It's very much a a case of a song that I already sort of enjoyed becoming my favorite because of an associated meme. Because CD already had some of my favorite songs, like the boss theme was always great. Bad Future for Palm Tree Panic. Good Future for oh, what is the name of the stage? It's the third stage in Sonic CD.
I was trying to remember it. I'm like, is it Collision Zone? I'm like, no, Collision Zone is further into the game.
Let's see here. Zones. We got
Zones does not have a B in it.
what?
I was trying to type. I was trying to type something in.
Like, technically, they're not even called zones; they're rounds now because of the different versions.
Yeah, Collision Chaos is the second zone. You're thinking of Tidal Tempest.
Yes, Tidal Tempest, good future.
I like how they're actually listed as G, P, and B in the soundtrack.
Yeah, good, past, and bad.
So Tidal Tempest, just the normal music. Uh, the beginning of Tidal Tempest always makes me think of what is it, E180? Whatever it's called.
M80.
Yeah. I gotta give it a little bit of time to play because the soundtracks are pretty long before they start looping. Yeah, there's the drums. When the drums kick in, Tidal Tempest's theme goes from like an 8 to like a high 9, where it's like, ooh. Okay, and you specifically said good future.
Yes, of Tidal Tempest.
And because it's future, it's got that like R&B sort of feel to it, which is actually really cool. I like how Sonic CD sets up this sort of like classic vibe into the future soundtracks that sound R&B, because the intro music for Sonic CD is this very like good feeling music, and then the ending is this R&B inspired piece of music, which is great. Which it really does feel like that there's a progression between classic Sonic and what we would later associate with like the vibe of adventure soundtracks. Yeah. And you said that your least favorite version of the least favorite piece of music
Yes.
in Sonic CD is the theme called Boss.
The boss theme from specifically the Japanese version.
Yeah, because the English version takes out a few things, which makes it feel a little bit better, but yeah,
Well, the English theme gives us that like sort of creepy, you know, horror vibe, but the Japanese version is this weird upbeat, like hype music for Eggman. I don't like it.
yeah, and it has the like the chuckles in the background.
Yeah, I don't care for it.
The funny thing is I can't even tell the difference between like a joke version of the boss theme and the normal version. Like this is the normal one. This is the Americanized version of the theme. Oh wait, no, this is the same one. Like I kind of like the boss theme. I don't hate it as much as you do, but yeah, it's
It's not
it's
that I hate it. It's like it again goes to the when all of the songs in a game are good, something has to be the worst.
yeah. I do like how someone in the comments of the boss theme goes Japanese boss theme intense rap battle, American boss theme literal hell because let me see if I could find the actual piece of music. So in Sonic CD, there is a piece of music called Hidden Message, which uses a bunch of the audio like vocal stings from from the boss theme that is reused for a secret theme that is on the music select screen, which is yeah, and normal quote hidden message in the Japanese version is just the same boss theme again. But because a lot of those audio tracks are not in the English version, it sounds weird. Uh yeah, this is the Fun is Infinite music in Sonic CD, where it uses a bunch of rejected pieces of music. And it's such a fascinating theme. It's not bad, but it's used for a creepy Easter egg, and so people associate with it being weird and creepy. But yeah, it's it's fascinating. Like Sonic CD is such a weird like gold mine for music, you know?
I think CD both suffered and benefited from having the time travel mechanic of these different areas because they suffered in the fact that it has the least amount of zones of any game besides Sonic 3 and Knuckles. But they're massive zones because they're essentially containing four versions of themselves. They suffer in that there's not a lot of musical variety in Inherent, but they benefit from the fact you now have four variations of the same thing.
Uh and I think just to kind of round this all off, I'm going to play Sonic Boom for a little bit because man is Sonic Boom like one of the coolest like themes in Sonic, to the point where like I associate Sonic Boom with the with the theme song of classic Sonic as a whole, you know? It's got that early 90s like, oh yeah, we're doing this sort of like music. It's such a good theme. And then the incredibly funny thing that is the Japanese ending music, which is just called "You Can Do Anything." I think I sent this piece of music to you at some point for you to listen to, and I think you said you just did not like this as much. And I'm not fully sure, but I like "You Can Do Anything." Yeah, it's great. I love it. It's got that like because it takes the bass line of Sonic Boom and then it does the R&B remix that is for all the future tracks. It's neat. I really like it.
I think another point I want to bring up.
Yeah.
What songs do you think sound better when you get the speed shoes and you add the 1.5 times speed to them?
I think that the music that does that the best uh it might be Hydrocity Zone. I think it does that like really well. Unless I'm thinking of something else. I think Sonic 2 might actually just have like its own speed up music.
Sonic 2 had speed up music, but it was again just adding 1.5 times to the sound. And I think three songs really benefit from it. Casino Night Zone, Hilltop Zone, and Oil Ocean.
Hilltop Zone is pretty good when it's sped up. I would say that.
Hilltop Zone's already a decent, you know, it's already a decent song. Not my favorite.
But yeah, it's like it is kind of funny thinking about like classic Sonic music. As I've said, it's got this vibe that's pretty great, and it is kind of neat to come back to it every once in a while.
Is there any other music we want to talk about?
Uh, I kind of want to play uh I want to play a bit of Green Hill from Generations because I think that like the Generations version of Green Hill is pretty good. If you've never heard this version before.
I have definitely heard it before. I listened to all the Generations soundtrack. I have said before that my favorite song for Sonic Generations is the classic remix of City Escape. It goes so hard.
Classic City Escape.
City Escape Classic is so good.
And I like how they if I remember correctly, they did a really good job isolating the lyrics because if I remember correctly, they couldn't re-record those lyrics. And so they had to just rip it straight out of the soundtrack or something. There was something weird about it. But yeah, the drums in the MIDI drums that they add to the classic tracks in Generations are all pretty great. What was the But it is kind of funny because I think about whenever I think about like old Sonic music, the one thing that always comes back into my mind is the fact that there was a part of Dreams of an Absolution from Sonic 06 that you realize that you're listening to Green Hill Zone but through like water. And it's always kind of neat. Let me see if I could find that part of the music again. Yeah, there it is. So if you notice, it's literally like Green Hill Zone. And it is the part of the because it's the part of the lyrics that are talking about going to the past, and it's so great. And as a piece of music that is supposed to be about nostalgia, it's a brilliant it's a brilliant way to do that, you know?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Okay, so was there any other piece of music that you wanted to play from any of the songs?
I think
And this is
that's
all
all of.
this is all pre Dreamcast music. So any of the stuff from Saturn 32X or Genesis. Every single
I
time I
think
think
we've
of
gone through all the
32X,
songs that I enjoy.
yeah. Every single time I think of the name 32X, I'm like, is the X supposed to stand for Exodus because it was the console after? I was like, no, that's not why it's X. But but yeah, that's I think we showcased a lot of that. I think next time I might drag you through some of my favorite uh post post the Dreamcast Sonic music later at some point.
I'd like that. I also think next time, uh, a good thing we should do is going over uh level gimmick.
Hmm, that might be interesting. Anyway, we'll see all you later. Goodbye.
Goodbye.